So welcome to Unit 4, Section 4. In this podcast, we are going to discuss professional practice. Now this covers everything from the way you behave with your clients to the way you treat other professionals. It's important at all times to keep high standards if you want a successful business or career in sports massage.
So let's start with an overriding statement, which is really a no-brainer. The sports massage therapist should treat everyone with the same high level of respect, regardless of gender, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, and mental or physical ability. I'm really not sure there's much more to say about this one.
So let's start by looking at your clients. Your own personal appearance is very important, and we've discussed in another video what is acceptable for a massage therapist. It's the first thing your client will see, and if you look like you've been dragged through a hedge backwards, wrongly or rightly, they will judge you for this.
They will indeed. Next is your treatment area. If you're in a clinic, obviously you can control that environment, so make sure it looks professional. Most importantly, that it's clean and hygienic. And at an event, obviously, it's a little bit harder, but again, it's just keeping your personal property tidy around you, making sure there's not lots of rubbish and things like that. If you're visiting someone's home, well, the environment is not your concern, and as long as you keep your own belongings tidy, that's all that really matters.
So the next area you need to show professionalism is your knowledge. Now don't show off with it. Don't overstep your professional boundaries and don't lie. If you don't know, say so. You'll look far better for it. Keep your knowledge up to date. If you know your stuff, you'll be able to explain things well in layman's terms, so you don't confuse your client. Never assume a client's level of knowledge. They may well know more than you, so don't ever talk down to your client.
Oh, no, not good. So the next thing you need to think about is your body language, and body language is really important. It needs to be an open, friendly posture. Your language and tonality is also really important. It needs to be friendly with the right volume and tempo. You need to sound calm. If you've had a bad day, tough. That's not your client's problem, it's yours. Where possible, use open questions with your clients and practice active listening. So don't interrupt your client and don't dismiss anything they say.
Definitely not. One thing to mention is if a client talks about other disciplines and having said chiropractics, however you feel about that, do not be disrespectful to someone else's discipline. There's nothing worse.
No, and these practices do work well together, don't they? Sometimes you need the chiropractor or the physio to make what you do work well.
Yeah, I would always talk about it as a complementary therapy to encourage people to be responsible for their own treatment plan. So within the realms of using you, other practitioners, entirely up to you. But if you don't feel that the right approach for them is what they've been doing, you can perhaps say, but back it up with evidence in your thought process. Do not ever be dictatorial about what they're doing and that you don't approve of that process.
No, definitely not. The next thing you're going to have to think about is you're going to come across even a lot of professionals, and talking with other professionals regarding clients should be carried out in a very specific way. We've talked about this before, but you need your client's informed consent before you talk to another practitioner first of all about them, and you need to create an audit trail for it. Sorry, my teeth are not in. In truth, it doesn't always work that way, but you do need to keep notes of it. So if you work in a multidisciplinary environment, you're going to bump into the physio in the corridor that client's going to be seeing. And also you work on a shared database system, so it's not such a problem because you can see each other's notes anyway. But you can pass on useful bits of information or concerns you have. It's a little bit different when it comes to the GP though. You do need to make sure that's all done via letter and with consent.
Yeah, much more formal type of communication, engaging your client in that so that they understand what you're doing, especially as they might have a bit of a panic. If you say, I think we need to speak to your GP about your condition. Someone told me I needed to see my doctor because my massage therapist couldn't fix it. I'd be worried. So you can buy them in with that and encourage them to be involved in the process. It normally gets better results.
Definitely very important, that one.
So with whoever you are communicating and with whatever method you use, you must always be professional. There are so many ways of communicating these days, and the language can vary from method to method, as well as the formality of the method.
Oh, yes.
Now, a letter is very formal and a text is not. And that sounds obvious, but there are advantages and disadvantages of each. Main methods typically used are going to be letters, emails, text, telephone, and also face-to-face. Verbal communication has no permanent record, where of course written does. However, language in written communication can often be misconstrued. So do think about the differences.
So verbal can be better for a discussion with a client. It's much easier to book an appointment over the phone by text more than email, but email as well. However, if you are giving advice, written is generally better because then you've got a reference to refer back to, and so is your client. So they're not trying to remember it, but they've got it written down somewhere. So try and find the best method for communicating the specific piece of information you're trying to get across better than I'm doing now.
An appointment reminder is going to be better by text than it is going to be. You don't need a formal letter necessarily for a reminder that you're going to rock up at their house at 5 o'clock on Tuesday. So that is a basic overview of professional behaviour. As you can gather, it's again mainly common sense. But that is the whole part and parcel of it. And common sense, the key thing about it is that it's not common a lot of the time.
Definitely not.
But that means that you've now completed everything for Unit 4 and can now move on to the task for this section and then move on and complete the Unit 4 worksheet and the elements of the assignment that you've got left. Remember to look at the revised version of the Unit 4 assignment, as you've already completed many of the elements, so keep building it up and make sure you don't start right at the beginning. But that is that, and then you can move on.
Good luck.
Bye.